Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for this week's GFIT conversation. I am bringing in a longtime GFIT girl. She's actually one of my besties that I get to see from time to time. And, well, not that often. She's not in the United States. She's going to tell us all about herself. She has a resume that is so inspiring to me, what she's done in her career, what she's done in her fitness life. You are going to love this conversation. So, we're going to bring on Cecilia here. Hi, Cecilia.
Hi, Gina, or little G, as I call you.
Yeah. How are
No,
you?
I am doing well. As you say, it's been a long time since we first met. In fact, we met March 2016.
Yes.
Um, yeah, in a coffee shop and couldn't stop talking. We both thought it was going to be a 10-minute meeting, and then you had to rush off and were late to pick up your kid.
Oh my goodness, 2016. So, David was three.
Yes, and little one was, yeah. So, and now,
Just
um,
brewing. So,
yeah,
yeah, where are you now? Because you reside in England, but you're always all over the world. Where are you currently?
currently we're in Tenerife, which is one of the Canary Islands. It's off the coast of Africa, but it actually belongs to Spain. But we're closer to Africa than to Spain.
So, are you
And
you're on vacation then?
we're on permanent vacation nowadays. I'm retired.
So that's kind of where I wanted to start, Cecilia. Bring everyone up to date. Who are you? I mean, I want you to toot your own horn. You have done some amazing things, and you are, like Gina is Gina in the fitness world. You are Cecilia in the veterinarian world. So toot your horn, and just, share a little bit about you, your upbringing, and then fast forward to how you and I met and whatnot. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, professionally, I have been extremely fortunate, really. I trained initially as a dentist, then specialized as an oral pathologist, so still sticking to people. But I always had the dream of being a veterinarian. So in my mid to late 20s, I went back to university and became a veterinarian. And then I specialized in veterinary dentistry and maxillofacial surgery. And I suppose I've been one of the leaders in that discipline since then. I was the founding president of the European Veterinary Dental College, which is a specialist college. And I've traveled all over the world teaching vets how to do oral and maxillofacial procedures, both lecture format and wet lab format. And it's really taken me all over the world. I've always been into fitness, though. I've always wanted to be strong, toned, lean. I was a swimmer in my teens.
Yeah.
Um, and we actually did weight workouts to be good with swimming. My best stroke was breaststroke, and you needed to sort of get the upper body strength optimal. And I remember age 16, maybe, walking into the basement somewhere, and there was this gym, and there were around 12 big guys. The place really smelt like male hormones. And there were all these grunting noises as they were lifting heavy weights. And I walked in with my trainer, and it went completely silent. They just turned around and looked at me like, "What are you doing here?" And I got put through my paces, and I was there 5 times a week working out with the grunty boys. And I loved it.
I was gonna say secretly loved it, and I'm sure they did too.
Oh, I became their mascot. They used to, I mean, when they were having competitions and things, they would have me along and they would lift me. It was a fun time, a crazy time.
Wow. So that's
Um,
really where your lifting kind of came in, was during that
yeah,
time? Hmm.
yeah, swimming. So my exercise was swimming and the strength training to get the muscle for the swimming. Um, and then, with my career and everything, traveling all over the world, it was a challenge to stay fit and healthy. But I mean, I'd been known, I even had weights that you could fill with water and they would become 8 pounds. So I had 8 pound plastic dumbbells
That
that
you could
I'd
travel
traveled
with.
with. Yeah. And I'd arrive in the hotel room, I'd fill my dumbbells, and then I'd be doing various workouts. Yeah, but I was I stayed lean enough, strong enough, whatever. But then I thought, no, I want to take this a bit further and see what I can actually do with this body of mine.
Right.
Um, at the time, I was still working flat out, so it became the challenge of fitting everything in. But I am a bit obsessive compulsive. I wouldn't call it a disorder. I'd say it's a personality trait.
Yes.
It's to my favor rather than my detriment.
Yep. But it could go the other way, right? My mom always said, like, you got something in you. It could go either way, but if you channel it the right way, it's going to be an amazing asset.
Exactly. It was. I mean, I'm stubborn. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. The
Yep.
time frame may not be as quick as I would like it, but I will not give up. Right?
Yes. And I can vouch for that, Cecilia. I want to transition into the traveling because that is something you definitely have traveled all over the world. You've changed time zones and you made it happen. You had a no excuse mindset. You said you already told us you brought the weights. How did you navigate? Because I know that's one big thing when people travel and they're traveling just not even a different time zone, just out of their element. Like, how do I stay on track? What do I do? And I have my tips that I share. But from
Mhm.
somebody who has done a lot of traveling and has stayed on track, what are some of the tips or ways that you did stay on track while you traveled, including your dumbbells that you said you brought?
Yeah. I mean, lot of the weight in my suitcase is actually food.
Hmm.
And it's things like protein bars, because you never know if you'll be able to buy protein bars where you're going. It's got a lot better, but I mean, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you didn't find protein bars in some countries. And also, I'm amazed that customs have never picked me up on the white powder that I
That is,
carry in my
that is
protein
crazy.
powder.
I've been stopped many times. What is this stuff here?
I just keep it in the tub. I mean, a packed suitcase for me could be 2 tubs of protein and some clothes. And I always wear black. So stains don't show that much. And so it's 2 pairs of black trousers, more black tops, knickers, bras and stuff, and comfortable shoes that can work for anything. And then I'll have a fold up black dress. But so most of it is food, protein powder, protein bars, nuts. Um, and I will have cans of tuna in my checked in luggage, tuna and brine.
Mhm.
Um, and so you can always stay on track,
I love
but
that.
it can get boring, eating tuna out of a can with a few tomatoes and half a cucumber that you managed to find in the shop downstairs is a
Yep.
bit boring day after day after day. But, I wanted to do it. So it was like 6 days a week, I am on plan.
Mhm.
I always have a refuel day, and it's generally Saturdays. And it tends to be the evening meal and then, yeah, the evening. And it can be anything from pizza and an ice cream through to a 3-course meal. But, you know,
So would
that
you
is,
still have the refuel when you traveled?
yeah, absolutely. To the point where, because when I got to be famous big shot, they did what I wanted. I
Yeah.
would say, I want the gala dinner on Saturday.
Perfect.
I don't want it on Friday. I don't want it on Sunday. I want it on Saturday. And I
Yeah.
got it most of the time. And
So
at the gala dinner, and I do drink alcohol, not a lot, but a couple of glasses of wine.
perfect.
Um, but not even every Saturday. Alcohol is not my weak spot. I mean, put it this way, I'd rather eat my calories. So if I drink water, as long as I get my food, I'm okay.
And what is your weakness? We all have one. Would it be
Ice cream.
ice cream, sweets, ice cream?
Yeah. I bought myself a Ninja ice cream maker,
Yes.
and I make protein ice creams now, which are really, really nice.
Have
But
you
there
tried
is,
creamy?
which,
The creamy?
yeah, that's the one I bought.
Oh, okay, okay. Gotcha. I still don't own one, but everyone swears by one. So I think that's still high on my list of something I need to get because you used to do the food processor. We've actually done some videos with that. So this taught.
Yeah. And I mean, Gina, when I was really into making fluffs, I actually had a food processor in my suitcase.
Wow.
You could get ice and water anywhere.
Mhm.
And then I would make a lot of noise in my hotel room.
Yep. I love it, Cecilia. I mean, you just said so many great things because, like, it can get boring and it's simple when you travel. You keep it to the basics. The list goes from, having maybe 20 options to maybe five. But
Yeah,
if you are disciplined and you want it bad enough, you'll make it work. And then when you're home and you're back into your element, then you're just back on the variety. But when you travel,
yeah,
simplicity, keeping it simple, the keeping it to the basics. I mean, you
yeah.
really can make it work and prioritizing food over clothes.
But I mean, for me, it's 6 days a week. I will stick to this. And there's three things. Protein is paramount. I will make damn sure I get my protein.
I love that.
Uh, I do the carb cycling that you taught me. I vary it a bit. So sometimes it's sort of 4 days a week a carb and three a fat. So I alternate the days, but I still abide by that. Day after a refuel is always a low carb day or a fat day, whichever you want to call it. So the three things that are rigid for me is the carb cycling, enough protein, and do not take my refuel away.
Yeah.
I will
So,
kill
okay,
you.
this is like music to my ears because we've worked together one on one for several years and we had to break through some mental blocks along the way. We all have them, thinking maybe food is the enemy or refuels are the enemy or calories or whatnot. Like, talk to us about that journey of, being okay with refuels, being okay with eating calories, being okay with
Yeah.
not being afraid of food, not being afraid of carbohydrates, and seeing what it did to your body. Oh my gosh, we have pictures to prove it.
Yeah, and I'm still there. I think, Gina, probably I was one of your more difficult ones because of the eating disorder that I've had since I was a teenager, sort of starting out being borderline or anorexic, to be frank, which developed into bulimia and then obsessive calorie counting. And, you know, I mean, I can tell you the calories in anything. I don't even have to look at the label. I found it easy to stop counting calories when I started with you, and just basically go for the cup measures and the weighing and just not count the calories. That was not a problem. I left that. What was more difficult was the refuel day.
Mhm.
And I will say I probably have not got 100% control of the refuel after, I mean, I've been living with this since I was 16, roughly, and I'm turning 70 in September. Uh, and with the whole thing, there comes what I suppose in modern terms we call body dysmorphism, in that if I'm in a good mood or things are going well, I see a strong, toned, slender person. If anything goes wrong and I get stressed, it I see a fat, little chubby thing. And what's the good of anything? Nothing. You're always going to have fat legs, so all that. So then it becomes a mental game. So trying to force yourself to only have positive self-talk. And if I really need a pity party, to limit that to 5 minutes and time it.
Mhm.
5 minutes of really vocalizing everything stupid that's
Yep.
going on in your head. Um, and that does help. I call it surfing. So you sort of say to yourself, okay, if I truly want to binge in an hour and a half, you can do it. And during that period, I will just think positive thoughts, do some breathing exercises, go for a walk, or here in Tenerife on the roof, we have a 25-meter rooftop pool,
Amazing.
which is heated, and I'm usually the only one swimming in it. People go in, they dip, they go out, they tan.
Yeah.
Uh, so I go back and forward like a loop. And I mean, I have not binged for 7 years. I had one bad binge and purge episode 7 years ago. But since then, I have not binged. There have been refuels that I have felt were excessive, and I've had to get myself through those mentally. Because there's such a difference between an objective binge when you really objectively eat far too much and a subjective one. And for me, the moment I go off plan and it becomes a bit more carb, a bit more this, a bit more that, even if it's meant to be, I have to fight the feeling that this is binging. So I call those subjective binges. You're not really overeating. In fact, you're just eating a normal meal. But in your head, you're
Yeah.
binging. And Sundays, I feel a bit blue sometimes, and sometimes a bit on Monday morning. But by Tuesday, I'm fine again and loving the lifestyle. But I think,
Absolutely.
with somebody with a long standing eating disorder, that's as good as it's going to get. I'm still struggling. I'm still not struggling. I'm still fighting it in that now my latest strategy is for refuel, I will plan the day on paper, then I will execute it, not thinking, just do what's on that piece of paper. And then I will assess how I feel on Sunday and Monday. And I'm going to do that now for 4 or 5 weeks and see if I can pick up anything I can change or
Yeah.
or not. But I mean, on the whole, I have a lovely life. We travel all the time, do quite a lot of cruises as well. And cruise ships are fantastic because they have these wonderful buffets with beautiful fresh produce, and you can eat perfectly on plan and have a lovely time. I still have my protein bars and my protein powder with me, and my scales. um, but, there is absolutely no reason to put on weight on a cruise, and everybody uses it as an excuse to do so. Um, I mean, there's always an excuse if you want to take it.
Right. Well, I think, you said, well, I probably was one of your most challenging clients, and I actually challenge that because to me, to see you come out on the other side, and I don't think that these things are deeply in bed in us, and we have to work through them, and we have to kind of find out what the why is and all that. And but for you, you've to have the tools, like you said, even that 5 minute pity party, that 5 minute pause, right? Like
Mm,
that little bit of a rather than being just being reactive, you actually take that pause, let yourself be in it. Well, first you have the pity party, let yourself go. Like we have to, be mad about it. It's okay. Be human, get the
yeah,
energy out, and then execute. So
yeah,
that tool alone is huge. Then your pause tool of like, okay, I'm going to take this time. I'm going to go swim. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go journal. I'm going to go whatever it is to give yourself like get yourself out of whatever that tangle in your head and then come back and then at least you're responding from a grounded state from not a
yeah,
reactive state, but kind of like
yeah.
I'm aware of what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you even having these tools, and then before we even talked about this conversation, you said nobody is taking away my refuel. So it just goes to show how much you have grown through this, and you still have that relationship with that old version of you, at 16 years old, but really this new version of you does have these powerful tools to like assess and knows that like these refuels actually help me. They keep me on track because
Yeah.
those were your words alone. Nobody's taking this away. I move my schedule around the refuels. I've grown to love them.
Yeah. And sometimes, I'll have to have a refuel on another day. And then the plan is just that the next day is a low carb day.
Mhm.
So, I'm, I will say though that what starts an eating disorder when you're in your teens is not necessarily what keeps it going. So I think the reasons I binged and purged when I was a teenager and in my 20s were very different from later. Uh, when I was younger, it was all about looks and that sort of thing. As I went through my career, it became a way. of controlling things. I mean, I would never show much emotion. I would not let rip at a student or be a drama queen. I was always friendly, even. And sometimes you met up with people who were driving you crazy, you know, and you come back to the hotel room in the evening and you were so tense. And you knew that if you went around the corner to the shop that sells ice cream, loads of ice cream and sweets and things, and got loads of it and stuffed your face, all that negative energy would go. And then the next day, you would be back to having the perfect face again. So that's sort of what kept it going. Um, it's interesting to me that and then you hear all these people who say, "Oh, I had that and I'm over it." And you think, you are a liar.
Well,
Because,
it just morphs, like you said, into something else. Like somebody who has an addiction to something, who breaks that addiction, sometimes has an addiction, whether it be to anything else, like
yeah,
exercise, maybe
yeah,
with alcohol to nicotine or nicotine
yeah,
to over
yeah,
exercising. I mean,
yeah,
and it is that sense, but just the fact that we come back to like, okay, well, what's the root of this? It's the control factor, but it sounds to me like it's those high stress environments, where it comes from a stressful state, or that sense of control. And when you don't have control of things, but you have control of this one thing, you kind of
yeah,
zone in on that thing.
yeah.
So we could be talking
And
about.
I am a very controlled person. I control what I eat. I control when I control what I do. And I don't let more than a handful of people pu- truly in. You're one of those, by the way. Uh, but so that's the stress level.
Mhm.
But no, I mean, on the whole, hey, I'm going to be 70. I'm very, very fit.
Yeah, I was glad that you wore a tank top. I almost was gonna, but I was like, I hope she wears a tank top so she can, because that's where I want to shift to is, well, before we get into your age, almost 70, incredible. And one thing that I hear all the time as a coach, and it's coming online incredibly loud these days, is this whole peri, post, menopause. And I don't ever want to discount that, but I see people like you, and I actually use you as an example. Some of my clients that are in their 60s, almost 70s, that look like you, that are just incredible. They're fit, they're happy, they're strong. It's like I want to go there with you because, that's coming from me as a 41-year-old. I want to talk to somebody who's living it at 69, 70. But before we do that, I would like for you to talk a little bit about how the GFit lifestyle has helped you to overcome some of these mental blocks, or some of these, as you called it, disorders that have really met them. They really have shifted. And I know that you're coming at it from your lens, and you
Yeah,
have these kind of
yeah.
dormant things. But for me, as the coach working with you so closely, I've seen so much progress, so much change over the years. And so if you had to really think about, because I know you've probably done a million diets until we met and you started the
Yeah.
GFit phase. So what were the biggest, like, talk to me about the GFit lifestyle and how it's helped you and what you've really loved about it, and how it's kind of helped you get to this new phase of finding balance and acceptance. I mean, I know you're my big ass salad sister, so I mean, we love our vegetables.
Yeah, that was a very important part of it, in to realize with those unlimited vegetables that you did not need to be ever hungry. In fact, you could stuff your face, but it could had to be cucumber, the unlimited vegetables. So my eating changed in that my base is always a big amount of salad or vegetable, and then the protein, and that's the way meals are built. Then, of course, lots of spices and things. And like you, I enjoy cooking and creating new stuff. You got me going on the baking the Gina loaves and things. But I think what you taught me was consistency is the key. Don't obsess about what you need to do and how to get quick results. And don't obsess about that. Just get the plan, follow the plan. All
Ex-
right.
hmm.
Some days are easy, some days are difficult. You develop tricks, and we've already talked about those. But to roll with any of the blues, um, just say it's normal, this happens. Go with it.
Yep.
It gets better.
Mine.
Yep. Um, Also, but consistency is the one that really sticks.
Mhm.
Uh, and if you feel unhappy about a day that you didn't quite come up to it, don't waste time worrying about that day because that day is done.
Mhm.
Face the new day with positive attitude and see what fun food you can cook together within your parameters for the type of day it is.
I love that. Yeah, and it's like, one of my most favorite things to do is just to take back control, take speaking of control,
Yeah.
take back ownership, take back control of those thoughts, take back. And so, when you have those moments rather than throwing in the towel, like to me, that is almost my addiction, is like how can I flip the script, get out of my own way, and then when you start to execute and you're back in the driver's seat, there's this kind of quiet confidence that comes from that
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
just get back on and to get back, to know that you're not to be a hero, not a victim,
Yeah.
right? Whatever it is that happens.
And not to go back and try to compensate. What's
Mhm.
done is done. Don't try to starve for 3 days because you ate too much on one day. Just go straight back on plan. Yeah.
Exactly. And like you said, don't compensate, whether that be, everyone now they overdo it in one area, so then they have to over cardio to make up for it or
Yeah.
cut
Well,
calories.
you see, I have never even linked the exercise to weight loss in any way. I don't exercise for weight loss. I mean, few years ago, we went, oh, 10 years ago, God, just before we met, we'd been to the top of Kilimanjaro and it was strenuous and we did make it to the top. And everybody there had lost 4 or 5 kilos on the 9 days it took us. And I was pretty lean. I'd lost 1 kilo and I walked 9, 10 hours a day straight up a mountain. And I ate as normal. So it just goes to show you can't lose weight by exercise alone. If your diet is up shit creek,
Yep.
it's not going to work. What is the expression? You can't out
Out
exercise a bad
exercise a bad
diet.
diet.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So I have sort of never seen exercise as a way to lose weight. For me, I exercise for strength, flexibility, uh, aerobic capacity, balance,
Mhm.
the feel good factors, the endorphin kick that comes with it.
The mental
And
clarity.
yeah, all that. And so that is totally different. The diet is one thing, exercise is another.
Yeah.
And I mean, exercise, as you know, was never a problem for me. If anything, I have to stop
Slow it
myself
down.
from overdoing it.
Yes.
You know, you say 100 squats a day for the summer. I think, oh, 100's good, 200's even better, and let's do it the whole year.
Rein it in. Yes.
Yeah.
Extend that little bit in those rein-ins. I mean, let's talk about the exercise a little bit because okay, I want to like kind of jump into just let's talk age and exercise because
Yeah.
again, and hormones and can you talk to us a little bit about how your hormones shifted and how, I hear it all the time, Cecilia, and very common now, there's just all this talk about hormones and perimenopause and all of it. I'm just hearing it more. I don't know if it's because of my age or it's I think it's a bit of both. My age, but also it is coming out more this peri. It used to just be premenopause, postmenopause, but there's this whole, perimenopause thing and, the belly fat. Oh, it's my hormones are
Yeah.
changing and I never want to discredit that because hormones are a big thing. I get it. They shift and balance is key. But being on the coach's side and working with clients that have gone through it and lived our lifestyle, oftentimes when they get on HRT, their body often like their body almost resists what they're doing and then they come off of it, come back to what we did, which was balance. You're kind of like their body just balances out and they're sleeping better. Like we don't have the issues in our lifestyle, but I have not gone through the change. I'm probably in the beginning of perimenopause, no doubt. But for somebody who has and who's lived the lifestyle and gone through the change, talk to me about hormones, talk to me about being 70 and being in the most ridiculous shape of your life. And, you don't talk about belly fat and the change and just fall into that trap. So talk to me about all of that.
Okay. Let's go back. I went through perimenopause without really noticing anything. I had I was one of these fortunate women who had very light periods. They were spot on 28 days. They lasted for 4 days, 2 days of spotting, 1 day of bleeding, and then the last day spotting. And that was it. 28 days to the hour, to the
Wow.
point where if I got my period at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when I was in the UK, and I happened to be in Los Angeles a month later, I would get it at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So I
That's
was just so synced. No headaches, no bloating, nothing. I mean, it was just like, okay, period. Stick a Tampax in, you know.
like
Um, so, and I know the statistics, but we're not statistics, but they say that there's probably only around 20% of women who have it that easy. So I never had a hot flush. I never had any sleep problems. I really didn't feel anything until age 56. I had a period, and 4 weeks later, I didn't have a period. And then I've never had another period. So that was 56. Um, and I felt absolutely fine. I was now a year later officially at 57 in menopause because I hadn't bled for a year. And I felt absolutely fine. And I did not go on HRT. And then when COVID hit, there were all these studies coming out saying that postmenopausal women were less immune competent, that we couldn't mount a good inflammatory response in the way we could when we were younger. And there was really quite good evidence that hormone replacement done in the right way
Mhm.
would actually improve your immune response and make you better able to fight off an infection. So I contacted the leading expert in the UK, a woman called Louise Newson, and talked to her, and we decided why not
Mhm.
try it because I was fit and healthy. I had no problems whatsoever, apart from a little bit of vaginal dryness. That was it. And there's lube for that. Um, and we decided to try it, but it is a very balanced way of doing it. I have estrogen gel that I use twice a day. I have a progestogen tablet because I still have a uterus. So you want to make sure you don't get the endometrium building up too much.
Mhm.
And I also have a dollop of androgen once a day. And I've been doing that since 2021. And
Mhm.
I can't say I felt any different, except possibly vaginal dryness is less obvious, is not as much. No, it's much, that's the bit that's improved. And the other thing that has improved is wrinkles on my hands.
Oh,
You
wow.
you used to have these fine little wrinkles. I don't know if you can see it, but that doesn't look like an old person's
Oh,
hands.
looks better than mine. Look at that. Looks better than mine.
No. So I think the important thing is the right HRT
Mhm.
and controlled. I have a blood test.
Yes.
When I started it, I had a blood test after a month. Then I had one after 3 months, and we adjusted the dosage. And now I have one every year. And for the last two years, we haven't needed to adjust anything.
So, I have a question because I have a couple clients who have, and I know that this is another story that you have fought breast cancer.
Yeah.
And that is so I have a couple clients that have had cancer that they have fought, but they won't go on estrogen, for example, because of the risks. So what is your take on that? What kind of
My take on it is that it does very much depend on what type of breast cancer you had.
Mhm.
Mine was not estrogen sensitive.
Mhm. Mm.
So there is no contraindication to hormone. There are a few of them which are estrogen positive where it might not be a good idea. And I would leave that in discussion with the doctor that's treating the patient. But for most patients who've had breast cancer, HRT is still possible. And so the main reason for me going on HRT was the immune response, the inflammatory response. But then the second one is osteoporosis. The evidence showing that hormone replacement reduces, prevents osteoporosis is overwhelming.
Right.
And I do not want osteoporosis. So it's the immune response, the osteoporosis, which are, and you can carry on forever. I mean, Louise has been on it and intends to carry on with it for as long as, I mean, people in their 70s and 80s are taking it. And the studies are coming out showing that it isn't that you do it for 5 years and then you stop. I mean, I actually started when I was already menopausal.
Yeah. Well, what I love about what you said is that like you had the immunity response, the bone, the osteoporosis, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm gaining all this belly fat. Things are just not working because I think we're on the same page that if you're living this lifestyle, you're eating properly, yeah, I was gonna say, oh darn, you're wearing a dress. I was gonna say, let me see those darn abs.
I'll
I'm
do this.
Look at you. Look at you. Look to the side. Look to the side. Go to the side and to the side. Let's twist to this. Look at that. And look at the little hip. Look, little amazing, right? You tiny little thing, you. But it's just like, thank you, because it's like people come and they're like, I can't lose this weight, it's hormonal. I just need some help, Gina. And so I always, dive into what are they doing, what are they not doing, and it's like, well, okay, so this is what's happening. We're blaming hormones because your age is saying it's hormones. But let's look at what you're actually doing, which is you're not eating for purpose. You're bringing in BLTs. You're eating processed foods. You're not eating enough. You're over exercising. It's like the list goes on and on. So the
Mhm.
minute we start working together and we start implementing the consistency, the eating for purpose, the not missing a macro, the not
Yeah.
restricting calories, the not overdoing things, focusing on lists with a little bit of hit. Like all of a sudden, I have one client where I literally had to email her back and be like, is this a typo? Because within 4 weeks, she lost 9 pounds, and she was the one that was complaining of the hormones are causing her to not be able to see, to see the results. So once we started putting all the pieces together, it was
Yeah.
like that. So I'm not opposed to HRT for the reasons that you mentioned for the, but let's start with getting you back on track and then implement these other things. Like, but don't use that as the excuse. That's kind of my whole thing. And I think you beautifully stated it because you went on it for it was not a body thing. It was you felt
I
great.
was I was menopausal. I was done and I had no problems. And I will say that my body did not change. I kept the shape that we had developed and I've kept it.
Yeah.
I really don't it's what you eat is who you are, what you look like.
Yep.
And getting over to the exercise, I have found that as you get older, your recovery is much slower. So in the past, I could go and I could, for example, lift heavy and I would get DOMS and it would take a few days. It was unpleasant, but it would go. Now, if you do get that, it doesn't take a few days. It can take up to 2 weeks to go. And during that time, you're actually cutting yourself short because you can't train the way you would like to. So I'm doing 3 what I call workouts a week, which are isolated in as much as, yeah, they're not true isolated really, because I always do, let's say if I'm doing shoulders, I'll do a set of squats, same shoulder exercise, set of squats. So I'm always moving. I don't like sitting there and waiting, can I lift again? So I do 3 of those. When I'm home, I do 2 reformer Pilates classes, an hour each. When I'm not home, like here, I do 5 workouts, and the second 2 are circuits, your kind of circuits. If I'm feeling lazy, I'll go in and just redo some of the ones. I mean, I've got all your stuff on file. Or if I feel like it, I create my own. And I've used all the knowledge I've got from you and the experience to actually, Graham, my husband, who's 10 years older, is going to be a very, very fit 80-year-old.
Amazing. Yeah, living the lifestyle because you cook for him, you train together.
Yeah. Yeah. But we have slowed it down, and I do a lot, incorporate a lot of what I call functional. So we'll start with 20 minutes of yoga, Pilates style functional, limber up, make sure you're properly warmed up, and then we'll start the exercise. And we'll also do a nice cool down.
Which might
And
not be what you did 30 years ago, right?
no, 30 years ago, you could go from 0 to 100 in a nanosecond and it didn't hurt. Now it would hurt.
So I love and I think that's where the change happens. Like, the going extreme and the going hard. Like, not saying you can't push yourself, but we need those recovery days. We need that
Yeah.
day of recovery and mobility. And, in the methods, in the GFIT methods, it's every Wednesday is our dedicated day, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean only Wednesday. More of that is what we need to be able to continue and maintain that consistency.
Mm.
So I love that.
And
And Pilates.
also, what they call in England, now they're calling it exercise snacks.
Hmm, hmm.
So, yeah. So, for example, when we're on cruises, we often have a cabin or what is it they call them? A cabin anyway, on the 12th or 13th floor. Dining is on the 15th floor. Most of the entertainment is on the fourth or fifth. And we do not use the elevator. We
Yep.
use the elevator once to get our bags on board. And then for the next 10 days or 12 days, we go up and down 10 to 12 flights of stairs 3 or 4 times a day.
Simple.
And there are fantastic gyms on cruise ships, and they're not used because people. So
I
you have,
always go on cruises and I gain weight, but the gyms
yeah,
are always empty. There's might be a correlation there.
or the only people using the gym are the artists, the performing artists, the dancers, the trapeze. I mean, and they're super fit and they have some lovely exercise regimes. So no, it's. I mean, I get on a cruise, I'll get off as fit as ever, if not fitter.
Just carry on, Cecilia.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I mean, when I turned 60, a good friend of mine, a colleague, bought me champagne glasses that I then copied and had some made for you and Michael
I do
with
have.
engraving. And
Mhm.
on mine, it said, happy birthday to the world's fittest 60-year-old. So I'm telling Magnus now, September, I need new glasses. It needs to say the world's fittest 70-year-old.
I love that. So you have really embraced your
Oh,
age
yeah.
and as we say, leveling up. So let's like, what piece of advice can you give to I mean, even me, I'm 41, but I can feel that, like, I guess I'm just hearing more. I don't know what it is, Cecilia, if it's my algorithms or if it's the conversations, but maybe it's just because I'm over the 40, just more of this getting older. And I'm like, oh my goodness, can we just stop? Because what you focus on grows. So talk to me about getting older and how you've embraced it and how you've leveled up each year and how we can shift our mindset and the story that we're telling ourselves around getting older.
Mhm. I think getting older is a lovely gift. I mean, so many people don't get older. So I celebrate the fact that I have lived this many years and make the most of it. And yes, there are things I cannot do. Well, I can do, but not as well. I mean, if I went in the pool today, I used to be able to do 50-meter breaststroke at 43 seconds.
Wow.
Now it needs 58.
Wow.
I timed it.
Oh
you
my
know.
goodness. Fantastic.
So it's that kind of thing. So you can still do virtually everything you ever could do, but you have to do it slightly slower. Make sure you're warmed up. And also, if we go back to the dietary thing for a second, you don't. It's more difficult to recover from overeating because your digestive system doesn't function as nicely as it did when you were younger. So you just need to be a bit more careful with things and learn what works for you and what doesn't. And as much as possible, stay away from the victim trap. This is not my fault. I'm getting old. Everybody gets pot bellied when they get old. Everybody gains weight when they get old. Nobody trains you,
No.
it's up here. It really is. Yes, there are modifications and changes that need to be made, but life enjoyment can be as much, actually, if not more, because once you retire, for example, you have more time to think about yourself, to what you really want,
Mhm.
travel more. It's a lovely time of life, as long as you're lucky enough to stay healthy. If my breast cancer comes back or if I get another cancer, then it will be a different life.
Right.
And I will deal with that if I have to. Hopefully, I won't have to.
But staying
But
in the moment, staying in the day, staying
yeah,
present. I
but
love that.
also having plans for the future. A
Yes.
lot of people say, oh, I'm not buying any new clothes now because I'm 78 and I'm not going to live that much longer,
No. Yeah.
or not booking holidays. I mean, we book them and we joke because we've got stuff booked through 27. And we sort of joke and say, well, if we're still alive.
Make it a joke.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
make
mean,
light of it. And you and Graham just really live life to the fullest. And I love seeing that. When you retired, I was grateful to be part of your journey during those years. And now you're able to celebrate in all that you did and all that you accomplished. And it's just beautiful to see you now just being able to live after all of those years of the grind and all that you did.
but I
So
loved the grind too. I had a wonderful career. I mean, and it was a challenge. You'd fly 12 hours, have an 8 hour time difference, need to work for 5 days. It was just all right. Sometimes it was mind over matter, but
right.
I've had a wonderful life. I've enjoyed it. I've had some incredible ups.
Yes,
Oh
you have.
yeah, I got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and there is a Cecilia Gorrel Lecture Award, which is given to the best scientific research presentation at the annual meeting of the European Veterinary Dental College. And then I have a lab that is called the Cecilia Doc Tooth Fairy Lab.
Wow. I am the congratulate. That's what I'm talking about. Toot that horn.
I got good abs, no pot belly, big biceps.
Let me see that again, Cecilia. This is for, look at that, baby. This is
Yeah.
41 and that's 69. Getting
Yeah.
stronger.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I'm not getting stronger, but I am totally maintaining it. And
yes.
I
I think that's the goal. And the protein's up. You're doing all the right things. And have you always been high protein or
yeah,
was that kind of, yes, you have. Good
I
for you.
was always high protein, but what you taught me was the vegetables, the filling up,
The
the
cycling.
consistency, that one, yeah, the cycling. I live by the cycling. I mean, this week, for example, it's my week starts on Sunday. So Sunday is a low, Monday, Tuesday were carb, Wednesday's a low, Thursday carb, Friday low, Saturday refuel. But the week after that, I'll go Sunday, Monday low. And sometimes if I know I have a big refuel, coming up or something, I might even go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday low, have the refuel, and then low, low. You
And
know,
you and your science, like this is where, and I love that because, we have like the pillars and kind of the foundation of the GFit lifestyle and the cycling. And then you get to a point where you get to play with it and you get to make it your own, which I love seeing that you're doing that because you have the knowledge behind it of,
yeah,
patting that refuel around the lows and just at this point, once you have the foundation, it just becomes a fun game.
yeah. And you taught me that. I mean, you took away all the obsessive anxiety about calorie counting, um, consistency. You don't need to be hungry. No, you taught me that. I mean, I should still make that t-shirt, designed by Gina, made by me.
Exactly. I love that at
So
70.
you have been one of the most important people in my life, and you still are, but on a different level at the moment. You see what I mean. But it was a real eye opener when we started working together,
What a
and
journey.
then after a while, I needed, well, after 5 years, I think. I needed to take the training wheels off.
Yeah. And
And
but yeah, that's like you say the most challenging, but to me it's the most rewarding because to be able to have, there's people that to have different backgrounds, but to have like a significant, disorder and to be able to now take the training wheels off and to not revert back and to take everything you've learned and to make it your own, it's just beautiful. And this is the evolution. This is the
yeah,
metamorphosis, that you, like you said, we created together, but you are making the decisions now and you're making the right decisions and don't need that approval. You that just goes to show that what we learned or you learned and what we did together really hit home. It really was locked in. The seeds were definitely planted and now they're blooming in beautiful ways.
and I'm going to tease you a little bit. When we first started out, you were very anti-dairy, no yogurt. Now
Mhm.
you have it in the plans.
Yeah. Well, and then that's the evolution of GFIT. Now I have carrots. Has anyone seen the new exchange list? There's carrots, there's beets, and
And that's why I bought your books, just to make sure, to check where you're at.
yes, absolutely. I mean,
And
it's a constant evolution, and it's as we grow, as we learn, as new research comes online. Not that any of that was
yeah,
research, but it's like, to me, it's consistency. So when I'm
yeah,
hearing somebody craving carrots and they're like, but it's not on the list, I'm like, okay, well, girlfriend, let's put some carrots on the darn plan. You want some beets?
yeah,
At the end of the day, like it's not about restriction. It's about how can we include this so
yeah,
that I can keep you on track. And if that means that we're going to have some carrots and some dark chocolate and some cacao and a glass of wine on the weekends, let's all work it into the plan so that you can stay consistent. So, yes, we got the yogurt, we got cup by the low cottage cheese is on there, but then there are
yeah,
times when I pull it out, when we're trying like on a challenge, there'll be a little bit less because for
yeah.
the to just kind of tighten it up that 1%. But absolutely, it's always an evolution. So, oh, sourdough bread is on the exchange list now. Look at me, I'm in my sourdough era. So it just constantly changes.
Oh, no, it was a lovely journey, and I'm reaping the benefits all the way through.
Look at you. Just so amazing, Cecilia. So
Thank
grateful
you.
for this conversation. Thank you for being just open to and sharing the raw and the real, the story, I think that's just the world needs more of the real conversations, talking about the disorders, the lube, like all of it. Let's go.
And I think that if there's one thing I want to say is don't be a victim.
hmm hmm Be a
Just
hero.
figure out how you can make something work. So there's plan A, plan B, plan C. And if neither of those work, then come up with a plan D and keep going until you find something that works. Don't
Absolutely.
say, oh, I'm old. Oh, or the worst one is, oh, they put food in front of me. I have gone to a dinner or a lunch somewhere where I told her, we are not eating, we're just coming for coffee. I'll bring my own snack. And she had a whole spread on. And I basically refused to eat. I had my cup of coffee, ate my Gina loaf, and left.
Yep.
And frankly, if I had been 30, I would have been too polite. I would have thought, oh, she's gone to all this effort.
Right.
Mm.
Yes, 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 Cecilia. I love
But
that.
at 69, it was,
Yeah.
I am not.
Well, I love that. And the quote that I read when I turned 40 was up until 40s, you're just doing research. And it was just like, that was powerful because it's like, you're just learning who you are. You're learning to have better boundaries. You're learning to say no. You're learning that, you don't need to be a people pleaser. Like all those things, I think a lot of times you give in and you become because of those, like, right, you're trying to please people. You don't want to disappoint them because they just went out of their way to make this
Mhm.
spread, whatever it
Yeah,
may be. So good for you.
yeah. And it
Amazing.
keeps evolving, love. You haven't learned how you might be in your early 40s now, but
Oh, I'm just
baby.
getting started.
Exactly.
Oh, well,
So
thank you so much,
thank you,
Cecilia.
Gina.
I just love you to pieces, and we are miles and miles and miles apart, but we are so close always.
Yeah, always.
All right, my beautiful friend. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening in on this amazing conversation. Cecilia is just such a rock in the GFIT community. She pops in from time to time, usually more towards the squat challenge, but she's still living the lifestyle. And that just goes to show, sometimes there's just so many people around the world that are just here crushing the lifestyle, whether or not they're, you see them on Facebook or not. It's just always so fun to see that, we're rocking this from all over the globe. So thank you and keep rocking it in the UK and wherever you go, representing the flame, that inner fire within you. You do it well, sister. All
Thank
right.
you.
We will connect real soon. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.